we'll be tying a brown bug. So it is one of the fly assembly kit made by SHOR Fishing, which allows you to do up to 6 flies because it got 6 hooks in it, but you got way more material than that. This is a salmon dry fly, which can be fished of course as a dry fly, but you can also fish it just under the surface. It is a really good fly actually for salmon. So in every kit you got a tying thread bobbin, you got your hook. These hooks are the Daichi 2441. They are really strong hook actually for salmon. They are really good. So you got 6 hooks in every bag. You can tie up to 6 flies per kit. For the price, I believe it is really fair. Plus you got quality material. Actually you got your deer hair in both natural and brown, and you got your natural brown saddle hackle for the hackle at the end. So the first step is to take your tying threads and to start right at the middle of the hook, and you will see why. So we will be tying the tail, which is natural deer hair. To tie the tail, you just take your quantity that you need. Actually it is maybe the size of your bobbin. It is not as much as a pen actually. You don't want to use too much. You will stack it on your hair stacker. Just a bit actually. You don't need every single fur to be at the same length. And you will come and take your length. So you want it to be actually, and you can use your the carton as a template. You want your tail to be just finishing at the end of the hook. So you will start tying it right there, and you will keep winding your thread all the way to just behind the hook point. You can trim off the excess. So by doing it this way, what is happening is that your tail will be only the point of the deer hair, and you won't have the gray color to be shown on the body. So you can cover it good. Actually this tail will never move. Next up you got your brown deer body. So you will have enough probably to tie up to maybe 8 to 10 easily bug with this. It is a 1x1 patch actually. So I trim off a small clump and I'm just pulling away all of the curly fiber that you got in there, the under fur. You will come do 2 turns with your tying thread and you will cut away right there. So this will help you at the end when you will be trimming your deer hair body. Actually you won't have to worry about cutting off your tail. Now I take another small clump and we'll be doing it all the way to the hook eye. If we were actually really stacking hard or the hair body, this will end up with our fly to have too much flotation, and when a salmon come and take the fly, he will struggle to actually bring it down in the water with him. So if you don't want that kind of short strike, you really want to keep your body quite sparse actually, so it can float of course, but when a salmon would take it, he can actually bring it down with him. So I'm always doing like 2 turns, cutting away the tips and then turning the hair. That's the way I've been taught, and that's the way actually I find it way quicker than leaving the whole fiber, and at the end when you will be cutting it down, it will be way faster. So always 1, 2, cut away, turn. And you will see actually if this is your first bug, it can be quite long, but as you will begin to tie them more and more and more, you will find your pace, and actually at the end of the day you can tie them maybe up to 5 every hour. So it is quite quick when you got your pace going. I've been tying them for a couple of years now. Actually, I am teaching them to you, so it can be a little bit longer, but usually, it takes me maybe 6-7 minutes now to tie everyone. So it is really fast and really effective pattern too. You can do a hard fish too if you are fishing for salmon, or even steelhead. You can do a hard fish right at the front with your leader material, and actually this fly will skate really good. That's one way to fish it that I really love. So we are almost there, only one more small clump. So I just take a small one, because actually you want to leave some place for your heads to be, and of course your hackle to be tied in. So this is my last one. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push a little bit on it, just to make sure that I don't tie any fiber on my head. A couple of turns, and now we are going to take the waste basket I have. I'm just putting it right under my vise, and I'll start to trim away. So the bottom part, so I turned it away, but the place where your hook point is, you want it to be trimmed as close as possible to your hook shank. So this will help the hookup ratio quite a bit. So this part is always a little bit on the flat side. Once it's done, you can start off by every side. So what I'm doing is I'm actually leaving the front part quite long, and I'm just tapering everything down to the tail. And you must take your time actually to do this. This is a crucial part in these kind of fly. And if you don't want to screw it up, you really need to take your time to achieve the proper taper. That will actually help your flies to be durable too. So I've cut every single fiber down to the tail. Now I can work on my taper once again. The mid part of the body, you want it to be actually round, so it will end up being like really small, growing bigger, and getting small once again. And now up the front, what I'm doing is I'm cutting really at a 45 degrees angle. And I'm simply rounding the edge right here. if you have a rotary vise, this is one of the great advantage, as you can turn your vise, turn your hook, and see what you are going to cut, instead of simply assuming that you are cutting this actually this fur, this angle. You never know if you don't watch closely. So by turning a vise, you always have a visual contact with your hook, with your material. It helps you to gain a really good control. Once the trimming part is done, actually I'm quite happy with this body. What we will be doing is we'll be adding the hackle. So this is the last part for this fly. So I'm taking a hackle feather. Actually, I love them to be tied by the base. Some people might tie them by the tip. It really depends on your style of tying. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting away a couple of fiber, cutting down this part so I have a really nice even part that I can tie it on. I'm cutting away the excess already, and now we will just be doing a couple of turns. So it depends, everybody actually have their own style of tying bugs. Some people love to get, maybe a 12, 15 turns of hackle. I actually enjoy maybe 3 to actually 7, 8 turns. It really depends on the size of my bug, of course. So to tie it down, I wrapped my hackle all the way to the back. Then I take my tying thread and I'm going in the body all the way to the back and back to the front. So what this does is it makes your fly really durable. It's really long-lasting fly. Because actually, as someone can try to break your hackle, it will never come off of your hook. And finally, we're just adding a little bit of head cement right on the head, and once it is dry, your fly is ready to be fished. So this was the brown bug tied with the fly assembly kit from SHOR Fishing.